into what I'm gonna put up the air quotes when I say victim blaming, because I do feel that there is a certain level of awareness and protection that as a woman that you should have for yourself. Now, if you have an OnlyFans, that's your prerogative, that's your thing. Nobody has a right to come up and touch you. It's an OnlyFans. You aren't a prostitute. You're engaging in exchanging, looking for money.
Right. Now,
Somebody
watch
can't
this.
reach out and touch you through the screen.
Right. Now, and here's the thing. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. We just got to play devil's advocate. But because of the way society is set up, they view OnlyFans as prostitution. That's how they see it, especially someone who doesn't have the emotional intelligence and doesn't have that sexual discipline. They look at you in their mind, you a prostitute. And now I know what you're thinking. What you guys, what yourself. Now look, I know you all are on social media every day, especially people who trying to sell a business. You trying to promote your stuff. You trying to spread your message. You got the calling. You got the word from the Lord. All that good stuff, right? But you don't feel like it. You don't have the time to promote the social media. You don't have the time to create the content calendars. You don't have the time for none of that, right? So that is where my new package comes in. And this is called the Trust Builder Package. All right. So this is for those of you who want to create great social media content, whether it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, YouTube. All right. And you need somebody to do your captions, descriptions for you that are high SEO that'll get you pushed out there to the masses and to find your personal development audience, because you are more than likely a personal development influencer. So who does this cater to? Coaches and consultants, faith-based leaders, wellness experts, authors, podcasters, motivational speakers, educators, mental health advocates, you name it. All of you who are trying to see the betterment of your community. All right, this package is for you. All right, hit me up in the DM, email me, reach out on the Nazio platform, and I'll hook you up. What's up? It's another episode of PSA, the Mental Health Podcast, with your favorite person in yellow. Why did I just say that? Your favorite person in yellow? I mean, I do have on yellow, if you can see, unless you listen to the audio. But if you listen to the audio, I have on yellow. Yellow. What was I about to say? Today's episode is going to be a good one. Well, I say that every time, and they do be good. But, you know, this one I really think is going to be a little funny. They be funny too. But you know what I mean. It's because it's some things that I have been seeing. And let's just get to the meme. I'm ranting. This week's meme is, are male and female friendships extinct? I asked this question and I posted as the meme because I just feel like there are many people who I've heard who will be like, especially the older generation, but also I have a neighbor. Oh, dang, I didn't reveal his identity. Somebody I hang out with and just started hanging out with, and he's from the country and he's hood. The hood of Mississippi and country. That's a dangerous combo. So, and not like little country, like they catch and kill coons country. Yeah, that country. And he had came around my friend group a few times. He was just like, it's just so weird seeing so many male and female friendships. He was like, I don't see how people or men can just be friends with women like that. And you know, so that's one of the inspirations for this. Another inspiration actually comes from a conversation that was had in my church group a while ago. So now I go to obviously a church, and they have a very strong men's ministry. And if not everybody in the church, as a man, either they about to, or they are married, or you know, and they are happily married. You gotta add that, because people be getting married and they'll be happy, and they are all happily married. And me and another guy, he's got a girlfriend right now, and then I'm, you know, I got my little situation, but. In a group where we're talking about how I forgot how it came up, and it was like male and female friendships or whatever. And my pastor, he was just like, well, once you get married, you'll see things was going to change. And then me and my other homeboy, I think he's 35, he was just like, I think y'all are saying that because y'all was out here, you know, before y'all got married, fighting with everybody. So then it was like, I don't have, because a lot of men, especially in the older generation, they don't believe in male and female friendship. That's like, ain't no woman, no friend. They either putting you on a woman or they giving it up to you, or that's like your family. That's it. And a lot of men think like that, even still. And the other guy who's in the group message, who's close to my age, he was even like, he has a lot of home girls, even with his girlfriend, and they're cool with his girlfriend. I don't want to get ahead of myself with that, because that's something we're going to talk about too. But so it was just like, I think it's a generational thing. I do, but people are different. And then a quote from an article we're going to unpack later. It says, God wants us to have friends, and that can include having opposite sex friendships, but those friendships should come with boundaries. So that's something too. So keep that in mind. All right, y'all, let's jump into the next segment real quick. This one, happy hour. All right, so for today's happy hour, a quick little rant, something I want to talk about. You can't save everybody. What does that mean? Well, basically, I just want to say that a lot of times, I see so many things, right? And I'm going to say this, people know who to play with. Have you ever been out with some people and say you was out drinking? This is a great one, right? You was out drinking and you got that one friend that always gets sloppy drunk. But no matter how sloppy drunk they get or have gotten, because this could be you currently, this could be, hopefully it ain't us, none of us currently now. They get sloppy drunk and then they falling all over the place because they know certain people gonna get them. But they know if they do that around you, you ain't gonna get them. Because I didn't have friends like that. They don't even play that with me. They wouldn't even play that with me. They wouldn't be, I'm gonna just look at what you doing. And it's different if we've all been there before, right? But there's a time who's serious and who things happen, right? But in that case, a lot of times it's been times they've been falling all over. Oh, give me up, and you looking, I'm not getting you up. People know who to play with. People know who to play with. Also, when it comes to saving people, it's advice, right? I'm a firm believer a lot of people don't listen to advice because I said it. Because a lot of times they don't want me to be right. And that's really what it is. And I've had so many debates with people about things. Well, at this point, I don't even say nothing. People have even told me that I was a bad friend because I didn't tell my friend this. Are you supposed to tell your friend that? No, I'm not. If they're not going to listen, what's the point? I'm not finna make you listen to me. You're not my child. I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. You don't want to do it. There's nothing I can do. I can suggest for you to leave that situation, that person, that job, that organization. I can suggest that you change up your diet if you want to see results. I can suggest, you trying this with your fit today. I can suggest going back to school. I don't know. I can suggest them things, but once I see you not going to listen, I'm not even going to waste my time. I'm just let you talk when you come to me venting about it. So, my main one is business, because so many people, they just refuse. They don't want to listen to business tips and suggestions because it's always a pushback. But my question is, and to all of those things I named, including this, if what you was doing was working, why hasn't it worked yet? And I'm all for process, because there's sometimes things are a process, but I'm a firm believer that the process, one, if God called you to do something, the process is going to be a lot faster. But also, you should be able to see some results, some increase. If it's not moving or barely moving, after a while, you might need to say, what am I not doing right? If that relationship, nothing's changing, might need to let it go. And sometimes even with relationships, they just might need a break, because I've seen that happen. And then they come back stronger later. That's, platonic and like dating. So keep that in mind. But you can't save everybody. Everybody don't want to be saved. Project Platinum told y'all that. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. And y'all ain't listen. Somebody in a toxic relationship and they keep complaining to you about it. I'm after a while, I'm saying I'm not listening. Some people, this is a harsh one. Some people in those real, I'm not going to say the word, but you know the word and the phrase I want to use. But some people in those really toxic, dark relationships, you have to cut off. Not even listen to nothing they say. You have to cut them off. You have to do them in some cases. I'm going to say this and we'll move on. Do them like people do their family members that are strung out on drugs. And it's like, I can't keep letting you in because I'm enabling you. It's the same thing with them. Because if you continue to enable them, the blood is on your hands. I don't know who that's for, but that's for somebody. All right, now let's get to the episode today. I'm really excited about this. I didn't mean to get like that. I don't know where that came from, but it was needed. But I have a great guest today. Now, this person was actually on the podcast a few weeks ago, along with the rest of the pod peeps, when we talked about tricking. Everyone loved that episode. The clips have been going crazy, and although my podcast TikTok is banned, it's still been going good on YouTube. So there's somebody I met this year and they've probably seen 20 times this year. Crazy work. And I don't know. I feel like I might see her another time again, but we're gonna see. She is the host of Everybody Can't Go podcast. She is a hustler, literally. She is a money maker. She is a rump shaker. I'm just playing. I made that up. I made it up. That's not true. I made it. I just want the rhyme. But let me go ahead and introduce my guest today because we have a great conversation about can male and females just be friends? What's going on?
Hi.
So, obviously, my online people can see you, but for my audio people, if you're on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe. Can you tell the people what's your name, where you from, and where you live now?
All right. I am Jessi Holley, founder of Everybody Can't Go LLC, host and creator of Everybody Can't Go Convos podcast, and author of Everybody Can't Go, the book that became the brand. I'm originally from Detroit and I now reside and actually from Detroit off the east side on the block. And I now reside just outside of DC on the Maryland side. So I'm in the DMV area now.
Okay. So, how did you get to DC? Like, how did you hop, skip, and jump to DC?
So, actually, I have a big chunk of my family out here and a big chunk of my family in Detroit where I grew up. So, a large portion of the family that we would travel with, I'll see them at holidays. Sometimes I go back and forth if I found a ticket on sale back when you could find a nice little $50 round trip ticket. And to get here and back, I would like pick up, call my cousins, and be like, "Hey, I found a ticket on sale. Let me come out there." So after coming out here, mm, more than a few times a year, I like the atmosphere, like the environment, and I was like, you know what? The work is remote. Why not? Let me move over here, check it out, and see what's good. And
Yeah,
I actually ended up liking it.
yeah. Good for you. Good for you. DC is definitely, excuse me. DC is definitely a vibe. I've been there. What? Really? I've been there twice, but I've been there one good time just to really go, and technically three times. Well, either way, one good time that I can say, and I had a good time the whole time. Um, it's so much black excellence there. You know, that's why people, I know a lot of people really love Texas too, because Texas has a lot of black excellence. Houston, Dallas, Austin, not so much. I mean, of course they're there, but you know what I mean. If you think of black cities, people are gonna say DC, they're gonna say Houston, they're gonna say Atlanta, they're gonna say Charlotte, and Dallas too. I haven't been to Charlotte yet, but I've heard good things about it. But I still heard it was upcoming. Have you been to Charlotte before?
Not to stay, only like passing through.
Okay. Okay. So tell us more about your podcast. Now, you already said that the book is what, created it. And I love when people work smart, not hard. So, but what made you say this book needs to be a podcast?
So when I first wrote my book, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead, share my story so that I can help other people. Because as I was a part of different communities, I started to become like, it's like, oh yeah, if you're having issues with your relationship dynamics changing because you're growth minded, you're leveling up, you're bettering yourself, and people starting to act funny style towards you, they're like, oh yeah, go find Jessica. Then after a while, it was like, yeah, go find that Everybody Can't Go girl with the pink glasses. And so when I decided to share my story, a couple of my coaches held me accountable and they're like, so what are you doing with this? This is what you help a lot of people with. Every conference, somebody's coming to you about said topic in one way or another. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write my book and then I'll write another one. But there was gonna be too much time in between where people wouldn't be able to hear my voice, hear from me, and honestly, there were a lot of gifts that I buried for quite a while. I grew up in the public speaking space and I stopped speaking. I would still talk, I was still social, but as far as speaking publicly, giving speeches, presentations, it was kind of on like a as needed basis. And so they were like, okay, you need to get your voice out there. You need to do more. And I started a failed podcast before, where it wasn't as passionate of a topic. So I wasn't able to maintain it. And I was a part of that percentage of people that, fall off within the first 10 episodes. Like, it was cool, but I wasn't feeling it like that. It wasn't connected to any passion or purpose of mine. And so the podcast was born. I began having to take stages, and once I was put in the hot seat and they gave me a mic, and they're like, "Wait a minute, you speak really well." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. I don't necessarily need to train to learn how to speak. We can go ahead and level up my speaking." And from there, it was just like, "Okay, if you're going to write this book, if this is going to be a brand, here are the things that you're going to need to do. You have to start using your voice again. You have to start talking." And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. I'll put myself out there some more. And from there, it's like, go ahead, do what, like, what are you going to do with it? And a podcast was one of those things. And I just literally never run out of topics. So here we are.
Okay. So, say you don't run out of topics. Everybody can't go. You always try to tie it back to everybody can't go in some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. So, when it comes to your personality and the fact that you are very friendly and all that good stuff, and you're very pretty, right? Pretty, friendly. I'm sure there are a lot of men that want to be your friend.
Mm.
So let me ask you before we go any further. Do you believe, I know the answer, but for the camera, do you believe that men and women can truly just be friends? Why not?
Absolutely. The reason why I believe that, I mean, that is literally how I've lived my life. So a couple of my longest friendships have been men, and I mean completely platonic. Like, no, this ain't like we used to talk or we used to date, we used to mess around, we done kissed each other before, none of that fuddy duddy stuff. Like, literally just platonic friendships. And I think that when two individuals of the opposite sex are at a certain level of maturity, moving in purpose in a certain way, and they have a certain mindset, you're able to understand and operate in, you do need both male and female friends. And when you have a friend of an opposite sex, like, there's a difference between a friend, like an actual friend, and somebody that you're interested in, whether they're interested back or not. And so, yeah, I definitely believe in it.
Okay. Now, this generation, and I've talked about this before, and I probably will do a whole episode on it just in general. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Lust. Lust has been something I think that has plagued. I mean, lust has been since the beginning of time, right? But I believe this generation has been hit with lust the hardest because so many people, you hear some of these stories and like everybody just freaked out. And again, that's not people think that people are shaming people have for sex. No, there's a difference between sex and being freaked out.
Mhm.
And some people, because of sexual trauma or being introduced to sex too early, I believe that they can't see without seeing through the lens of like lust. So like even if they just wanted to be your friend, they see that it lust take over their eye, and then it's like if you look like something. And then sometimes people so horny they don't care.
That
That's
part.
for another day. But what is your take on lust in this generation?
I think that, so I just stated differently. So I feel like there are levels to physical and emotional attractiveness. And I think that people, they kind of just like, they take that spectrum and they just did like that and smeared it all together and then call it lust.
Mhm.
I will tell people, like, a lot of times, like, my platonic male friends, I got some fine ass friends, male and female. There's a difference between somebody being attractive, just you're aesthetically pleasing, and somebody wanting to engage in coitus, if they actually trying to smash or want to smash. There's a difference between you being, mm, this is a clean podcast. There's a difference between you being effable and somebody actually wanting to F you.
Hmm.
And I feel like people I'm speaking generally in blanket terms, people be confusing those two things. And people
Hmm.
also get somebody wanting to smash you, they get that confused with, well, that means the person wants to have a relationship with me. That is also not always true. And
Right.
so when you like blend all of that stuff together and try to make a little smoothie out of it, you got people running around with varying levels of attraction. Some of them weren't lustful in the first place. I mean, if one of my friends is attractive, you're an attractive gentleman. That don't mean that I'm about to try to beat. Like, you're a good person. You're a nice person. Okay. That don't mean like, oh my God, I gotta have Izzy. That doesn't make logical sense. Like, but for
People do
some
think like that.
people, that is like that's a logical thought pattern. They're
Right.
like, oh, automatically assume those two attractive people, they must be sexually attracted. The reason why that's ridiculous in itself is because you the same way that you not gonna drink every pop that's available. You ain't gonna like it all. All of it's the same thing. There are gonna be some things that you're gonna look at and it's nice to look at. You ain't gotta eat everything you see. You don't gotta smell every flower that looks pretty. You don't gotta smash every woman or man that is aesthetically pleasing to your eye. There are some things that you look at and don't touch. There are some things that they look nice and you don't necessarily want it. And I think that people to me it's just a lack of a lack of maturity when you got to touch everything you see, you got to taste everything you see, you got to smash everything you see. For me that has just always been an odd concept, and I didn't start to learn that some people were like that lustful in action until I got a bit older. Because I've always been an orator of sorts. I've always kind of like, if somebody's attractive, they're attractive, and I'm like, oh, such and such is cute. Or if someone has on an outfit that I like, I'm not stingy with comments. Even while I'm out and about, sometimes like especially within our community,
Yeah.
why she mean mugging me? And I'll just tell people now, and I'm like, oh, hey sis, I'm so sorry I'm staring. Like, you're just really gorgeous, or I really like the way you put your outfit together, your makeup. Like, if you don't mind, I'm not mugging. My gaze is on you because like you look really pretty. Like, I give people compliments like that all the time. And usually, it makes people's day. You've done something that has brought enjoyment to me. I feel warm and fuzzy on the inside because it's the same thing to me as looking at a kitten.
Yeah. Okay, so now I think we got to pivot from lust only because I do want to do an episode on it, and I don't want to say everything I want to say. I will bring up another question later. So I have two words, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind when you hear them. Are you ready?
Hmm.
All right. The first word is simple: friendship.
Two individuals who are able to be in a mutually beneficial relationship.
All right. Boundaries.
There is a bubble, or there is a line that's drawn around your person. You
Okay.
stay inside of it to protect yourself.
The definition of friendship, it says a relationship or of mutual affection, trust, support, and companionship without necessarily a romantic or sexual component. And then boundaries, it says limits or guidelines that protect emotional, physical, and relational integrity. What's acceptable versus unacceptable in interactions. So I really like that, and you were pretty close. All right, let's move to the next segment today, which is what does this have to do with mental health? All right, so I got a quick note. So, according to Psychology Today, exploring the differences between male and female friendships, male friendships are more often activity based than emotionally intimate, which can limit men's emotional expression. When men don't have close, emotional, safe friendships, loneliness and suppressed feelings can escalate into depression or anxiety. The second one says the male and female friend zone. Is it possible? This notes that while cross-gender friendships can exist, there's often tension beneath the surface, unspoken attractions, assumptions, or emotional misalignment that, if unaddressed, can cause hurt, confusion, or emotional stress. So I do have some friends who I believe they horned out, and I believe even though I've heard, I was being a guy, like I said, you might have too, because I feel like some of your homeboys look at you as one of the guys. I know the one that don't, but I think that, but I know that, and you probably have heard like the comment like, man, if someone ever gave me a chance, I'd do it. If someone ever gave me a chance, I'd do it. And they say that a lot. Now, something you did mention about, you say you didn't realize how lustful people were until they got older. And like I said earlier, a lot of times these people were either introduced to sex too early or they was touched and they never dealt with that. So then it just, turns into it's like the snowball effect. It just now about it, it's huge. When it comes to boundaries, what is something you will not do with the male friend?
So, well, this is a big one. I'm very communal. I just be taking care of people, feeding
Mhm.
y'all, love having a good experience. If I can't trust you as a platonic friend, I would not let you spend the night at my house.
Okay.
Like, that's a hard boundary for me. Um, I feel like, and I choose to keep company with male friends who I know that I can be safe to be around them one on one. And just because we're by ourselves, they not gonna try me. And to me, that is a large factor in the area of trust within a platonic friendship.
Right. And so my next question is, before I go to my next point, so you already said what you won't do with that. Do you feel as though, this might be a rough question, that some people put themselves in weird situations? Because I'm a firm believer the red flags was always there, but them red flags start to look like Six Flags and you think you at the carnival. So a lot of times people will say somebody came out of nowhere and they were just so shocked that they liked them. And honestly, it's only maybe one or two people where I was just shocked, but most times you heard the little comments. So do you feel as though, I'm not going to say anybody deserves for like, okay, let me rephrase it, because I don't want to say, make it seem like I'm making nobody who's been a victim of anything that it was their fault. Because sometimes, but it's kind of like, if say for instance you invited, like we've been in the same hotel room, we was chilling. But like, say for instance, if it was this guy who kept making these little passes at you, you been already saying like, you would hear the comments like, I'm not about to even go
Mhm.
nowhere alone with you, because the signs is there that you like me or that you want something with me. And not saying you're gonna try to push up on me like in a aggressive way, but you still may make me feel uncomfortable. And it's like, I don't, why would I put myself in that position? Because it makes them say, why would you do? Okay, and I'm using that example. Okay, so we going there. We got to go there.
You
So,
can let me say it as the female if you need to, because I'm right in that same exact lane. That's where I was going to take it.
so there's somebody that I knew that had, I don't know if they still had OnlyFans, and they used to be on it OnlyFans, and it was a woman, and there was an event where a guy walked up on this woman and grabbed her butt. Now, that's not okay.
Mm.
She did not deserve that. But do you think that because the society we live in, where people make these OnlyFans and do all these lustful sexual things, and then when a person who's lusted out comes and like thinking you own that because you're on this space that's
Mhm.
for sex, money, that they don't know how to turn it off, because in their mind, oh, okay, this is who you are. And they're like, well, I'm just making some money. But you like, no, but this is who you showed me to be. What's your take on that situation? This is for anybody who think they want to start a podcast. So is it you? Do you think you want to start a podcast? Cool. Let's be real. Watch this. So we don't need another podcast that sound like everybody else, right? We got enough of them. We're going to talk about those today. But saying the same stuff with no structure, no message, no plan, that ain't good. Now that's where I come in. Me, right here, Head Honcho. All right. So I have a new podcast package. It's called the Legacy Launchpad. Now, what is this? This is for podcasters who fall in the personal development influencer space. So who is that? That would be obviously personal development. That's pretty broad, but coaches and speakers, Christian-based influencers, faith influencers, maybe a pastor, a church, any type of course creator, education, mental health, wellness, nutritionist, all that good stuff. If you are trying to help the betterment of other people, fitness too, then this is for you. I will help you build your podcast from the ground up. This includes toning up, giving you the message, your niche, your show structure, the episode outlines, the intros, outros, descriptions, all of you. Show up to record and I build your legacy. If you're ready to stop playing, let's get it cracking.
Absolutely not. For that one, to me, that's just completely out of line.
Yeah.
For me, I would say, and still, this is depending on who you're talking to, this travels into how sensitive is someone to what I'm gonna put up the air quotes when I say victim blaming. Because I do feel that there is a certain level of awareness and protection that as a woman that you should have for yourself. Now, if you have an OnlyFans, that's your prerogative, that's your thing. Nobody has a right to come up and touch you. It's an OnlyFans. You aren't a prostitute. You're engaging in exchanging, looking for money.
Right. Now,
Somebody
watch
can't
this.
reach out and touch you through the screen.
Right. Now, and here's the thing. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. We just got to play devil's advocate. But because of the way society is set up, they view OnlyFans as prostitution. That's how they see it, especially someone who doesn't have the emotional intelligence and doesn't have that sexual discipline. They look at you in their mind, you a prostitute in
And
their
that's
mind.
fine. But even a prostitute on the street, you don't just walk up and grab her butt. You walk up and have a conversation and pay, because there's somebody that if you do walk up grabbing something for free, you gonna be dealt with.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I feel like that's an excuse. Something to me that would be a bit more practical. You brought up the example of if there were a couple of things, might kind of look sideways. I wouldn't be caught in a room alone with certain people. I mean, even down to like, I've spent time with you guys, hosted you all, any of that stuff. I'm not wearing my by myself pajamas in front of y'all.
Right.
And some people, well, some women, I'll just go ahead and say it, take it to that degree of like, oh, no, that's just my friend. Ha ha, he ain't looking at nothing. I do think that part of the reason why I'm able to maintain strong friendships with my male counterparts, there are some things as a lady that like we cool, we like these. There's still certain things that I'm not doing in front of you because I don't want to walk past you sexualizing myself in ways that you haven't previously seen me, because it's not your business. Like,
Yeah.
we cool, that's fine, but I don't need to have like you see in the cuff in the back and I'm running around with no bra on and a thin camisole and all this other stuff. Like, what is your intent with doing that? I love me some Fenty. Like, I'm gonna order stuff. I'm gonna go to the Fenty store. Yes, the fabrics feel good, but them fabrics ain't for me to be in front of the homies with it on. No, me and one of my homegirls might be chilling. I'll throw on my little robe or something because it's me and one of my homegirls. However, I'm not just gonna make this about it's a man problem. Because the same way that I respect you, gentlemen, with the way that I'm showing up and the way that I'm presenting myself, I still wouldn't do some of those same things in front of some of my female friends who are lesbians or gay. There's certain stuff that because you like women and we are friends and we are only platonic friends, there's a certain way that I'm not going to be presenting in front of you because I know that I could possibly be sexualizing myself. We have to think about how we're presenting ourselves in front of people, because that can be easily misconstrued as I'm presenting myself to you. And no, sir, I am not.
And that's the thing too. And sometimes I think people don't realize what they're doing because they think from only from their point of view. So they don't think like, oh, this person freaky, and this person might think that I'm flirting with them, and like you
Yeah.
might say, oh yeah, come over, and you don't know that they secretly like you or they didn't. But I believe the signs was that they might have gave you a look one time. They might have said something slick. I just feel like a lot of times we overlook stuff. We may, oh no, they ain't mean it like that. And it's like, yes, they did.
I would say it depends. Because it's a few of y'all that like I will be completely blindsided because I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm auntie status, I'm sis, whatever. Like, there are a few of my male friends that if they was like, I gotta confess my undying love for you. I would be like, bruh, what are you doing? What? I would still handle the situation sensitively because as my friend, I do care about you guys' feelings. I care about you as individuals, and I wouldn't do something like, I'm not going to be going off like, oh, like, adding insult to injury, putting salt in the wound. But I can say that based upon what I've seen, um, I think that sometimes the same way that you can be blindsided because you're not super fully yourself, I just look at myself like, I'm a regular person. I
Mhm.
expect to be treated with a regular, normal level of decency and respect, the same that I give other people. And I don't feel like because of someone's aesthetic look that there should be a difference in that. Now, I can say that, and it was one of my homeboys that did it, but even though it stung when he cut into me, it did help me become a better person and be a better friend. I'm always gonna be cheering y'all on. I'm always gonna rah rah. I'm always gonna be your biggest cheerleader. Anything that you need, I got you. I'm gonna help in whatever way I can. I didn't realize that pretty privilege is a thing, and also that it's not just aesthetic. Sometimes it's your vibe, it's who you are, it's the value that you bring, it's your personality. And in me being everybody's biggest cheerleader, I didn't realize some of the places where I was encouraging some of my so-called friends, where I was encouraging some of my friends to operate in a way where apparently the gentleman decided that they don't have that. I don't know. I don't want to say that right because I'm like, everybody has a right. But he sat me down and had a not so delicate conversation like, hey, look, don't do that no more because you setting them up for the fail. Ain't nobody about to listen to this person, because this, and all of it was related to physicality. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so mean. And I'm like, I'm not a mean girl. I can't like, and it's like, okay, well, what you don't realize is you're encouraging people to act outside of their, I don't know, I guess aesthetic capital. I can't find a nice way
Okay,
to
so
say it because it was so
I'm gonna say
mean.
it, y'all, because I think it might go over some people here. She basically saying the people ain't the most attractive, and they act like they the baddest things walking.
Because on the inside, they are.
But I would, and again, devil's advocate. I believe that everybody has. Well, yeah, no, everybody has. I feel like some type of potential. Like you just might need the right hairstyle. You might need to lose a little weight. You might need to gain a little weight. You need to change how you dress. It's something you can do. So even if you wouldn't be necessarily the best looking, you would look totally different though too if you
Mhm.
just did a handful of things. So that's my response to that. And then I'm gonna say this, and we have to move to the next point. With everything you just said, you said they had to have a delicate conversation with you. So you would consider that guy your real friend?
Yeah, sometimes your real friends got to tell you something that it's gonna cut a little bit, but it's to help you become better.
Right. And so then how does that align with what situation besides the book inspired, watch this pivot, Everybody Can't Go?
It was literally a big friendship breakup. Mine was full of drama, turmoil, doxing, people being playing Twitter fingers and all types of other stuff. And the combination of that and me being a teacher at the time and seeing what some of my students were going through, because I grew up before the internet, like, okay, you can dox all you want to. You know where I live, you know where I am. Pull up. If we're not going to have a conversation face to face, I'm not going back and forth with anybody on the internet. But looking at these young women and young men and see them living on the internet for real and seeing how, like, small things way smaller than what was going on with me, how it affected them and how it literally was a whole world, it really made me think, dang, if this happening to me right now, it's a nuisance for me. But for one of my students, it could be a matter of life and death with the foolishness that's going on. It kind of pushed me out there to be like, you know what? There's a purpose greater than my pain. And the way that my stuff went down with a bunch of drama, just because I was able to move through it resiliently, when people kept getting sent to me with this same issue, I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm feeding into the drama, because by me sharing what the drama was, is going to help other people.
For sure. So the next one says in mental health, CTR.com, boundaries in mental health. It states that lacking clear boundaries often leads to burnout, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. In mixed gender friendships without boundaries, emotional or romantic entanglement can push one or both into mental strain. The next one says Sunshine City's counseling blog, Boundaries for Opposite Gender Friendships, discusses how healthy boundaries, limiting alone time, not sharing overly intimate things, being transparent, preserve trust and mental well-being. When boundaries break down, confusion, jealousy, and emotional bleed can harm mental health. Before I get to that last point, with these two, so about the mental bleed and then of course about the boundaries. Sometimes you look back at them Disney Channel shows and movies, and you would see those friendships where they always shipped people and would always try to make the best friends end up dating. And I think when we grew up watching that, because things speak to our subconscious, going back to something we talked about recently on a podcast, shout out to the HL podcast, I was just on them, and they were talking about how, why do women are so they attracted to like the hood niggas, the man that's so rough and tough and da da da. I said a lot of them are a product of their environment, and what it was that, but also why we look down on men who aren't like that. And I said, well, one, women are a product of their environment. Well, we all are, but also two, what do we watch on TV? All of these shows portrayed the black shows, those men that were like that, and like the dorks they overlook. You know, we look at Steve Urkel. When he became Stefan, he was the same person. He just was, you know. So I think that I say that to say a lot of the times these women are a little too emotionally vulnerable with their homeboys. And I think that, and the men, of course, I feel like it can cross that line. And sometimes it don't even necessarily be how you say sexual, or even they might not even like the person like that, but they can blur lines to where you might have a girlfriend and you might have a homegirl that's your best friend, and y'all talking a little too much, and your girlfriend might say, I think she like you. Like, nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then later come out, she did. Or vice versa. Yo, dude might say, hey, he like you. I'm like, nah, no, he don't. That's just my friend. And it came out they did. I'm ranting, but I'm about to bring it back home. So I say all that to say that what do you think is the limit for a woman? Like, what is the limit of something you will not talk about to your homeboy, and what do you not want him to talk about to you?
I would say once it starts to get into like the conversations about sex, I don't need to know what you did to your girl. Like, I need you to give her a credit card so we can go shopping, please, sir. Like, we can talk about relationship issues if you are being proactive and I'm actually helping you. But if you got a sex problem, please talk to your homeboys. I don't know, talk to your semi platonic female friend, but that's where I got to draw the line at. But
Okay.
anything else, I'm like, I feel like mostly anything is free game, but that's also because before the conversations even happen, I'm not really dealing with no guys as a friend that are wild like that anyway. So I haven't really had too much crazy stuff come my way.
Well, that's also too because you had that boundary up early, and that's a lot of times people problem similar to everything aligns. What I was talking about earlier with the drunk friend that's falling. I know if I said they know not to try that with me. In your case,
Hmm.
they know not to even go there with you.
Right. Hmm.
So, what would be your advice to the woman who may be your man, even who just doesn't have that strong boundary? Because did you get that boundary overnight, or how did you get it?
I think I kind of grew up with it already in place. I grew up a tomboy, so hung out with guys all the time, hung out with select girls, and you turn 16 and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, you fine. And I'm like, huh? What is y'all talking? Get away from me. So I kind of always had that distinction between oh, now all of a sudden I'm interesting to you versus you're treating me like a normal person. And so I've always picked up on the difference between those type of vibes, even in young adulthood and into like grown adulthood. You can kind of gauge someone's vibe for the most part on are they actually interested in you as a person, or is it like, oh yeah, like that's a fine friend to have, and it's like, please get away from me.
The next point, how male friendships support mental health. It highlights that male friendships provide a buffer against mental health challenges, shared experiences, emotional release, and belonging. If cross-gender friendships lack clarity or trust, they might undermine rather than support mental health. I think that me personally, as a man, I believe most men would rather open up about their mental health to their homegirl than their homeboy.
That's a fact.
And with that, before we move to the next segment, I think that because there are men, and I've said it several times on this podcast, they've been on this podcast, and I hate that for them because they really think they're like, they was like, I don't shame anybody that gets therapy. They was just like, I'm not paying for it because they're not paying for advice. And I've had my homeboys say, my friends are my therapists. Your friends are some idiots. So I don't know, but them same friends, they may open to them homeboys, but I feel like they'll open up to them homegirls quicker because I guess they feel like, I think we passed the phase now where homeboy, but we don't want to talk about this sensitive stuff, certain age range and stuff. Because I do know a guy who's a little older. He's 39, and you don't know this one, but he based out here, and I remember he was saying they was talking about mental health on his podcast, and I heard him kind of say, most times like I don't really want to talk about that stuff, and I'm like, well, you part of the problem. Because even if this generation that we see the suicide has been on the rise, what about them people that internalize it and then they drink all day, or they smoke all day, or they sex all day, and then it's all these, they pick up all these bad habits. You know what I'm saying? I think we overlook that because we think, oh, well, that's just what a man does. Oh, well, he, it's all right. He just, and that's unfortunate because you're living, but you're dying. You're alive, but you're dying. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe I got too deep. I don't know.
Nah, that's real. And that's definitely something that I've experienced across a lot of my platonic male friendships. The way that I describe it is there's a certain way that men are going to communicate with other men where they aren't going to have that outlet unless they have a female friend. And to a certain degree, it's not your wife's job to be like, to be your everything, to be your confidant, to be your therapist, and be your wife, and put on all the hats, all the things. As humans, we are communal and we're meant to be around people. We're like sometimes managing us, it does take it takes a village. It takes, different relationships. And to a certain degree, as long as you remove to me that romantic or that sexual element from it, there are gonna be some things that when you really do have a wise counsel and a responsible platonic friendship, like sometimes that ends up being the person that look, you need to talk to your wife's homeboy. You need to talk to your girlfriend's homegirl. Like being able to have those platonic friendships without it being weird. Like I'm the person that everybody's husband, they like, hey, so you spend time with my wife, da 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 da. Ain't none of my friends ever been like, oh, why was my husband, why was my man, my fiance, whoever texting you? W- We jokingly used to call me the keeper of the rings because when it was around that time, I know exactly what your girl want. So, sir, either we can be cool and I can help you to be like make her dreams come true and be like the best spouse ever, or we ain't gotta be cool. Go ahead, do your thing, figure it out. But I guarantee you, I can make your life a whole lot easier. And I think that part of the reason why that's easy for me is because I'm trustworthy, I'm loyal, I'm wise counsel for as much as I act a fool. But I also keep company with people that they do pay attention to. I'm not gonna cap. Every friend that's a female or every friend that's a male, they aren't equipped to be the type of platonic friend that I am. Some people be a hot mess.
Yeah.
And you really do have to choose wisely. And I think just overall, everybody doesn't always choose wise counsel, but that's definitely a place where as a man, you will be able to open up comfortably if you have a platonic female friend. And also somebody that's not, because look, women do it too. Somebody that's not trying to be your shoulder to cry on. So as soon as you're vulnerable, they can offer you some cat. because that's not what you decided to be vulnerable for.
All right, good stuff. Now this is where we get messy. All right, now let's go ahead and go to the next segment, which is I challenge that. So in this segment, we're gonna challenge some things.
Hmm.
Do you feel that most people are insecure about who they friend or spouse is friends with of the opposite sex because of how that person looks?
Sometimes I think that that could be a fleeting surface thought. I really do think that you need to meet the person in person so that you can catch the vibe.
Okay. I've seen situations where it was totally wrong, where I knew a girl, her husband, and her husband is very friendly. He's not a cheater, he's just very friendly. And he was talking to one of my homegirls, and she had told her husband, which he ended up telling me, like, oh, so and so likes you. She definitely likes you. And I'm like, and I know her. He's not her type at all. And not saying that you can't like this us outside your type, but I'm like, she don't like. But I believe it was some intimidation because this girl is fit, big booty, fit, and then the wife was not. And I believe that a lot of times, especially growing up as a big person, you might be insecure to people who are fit because you don't look like that. And then it's like, you're used to a certain thing. You weren't always, slim and trim yourself. But now look at you. So it's like I know you can understand that thought
Mhm.
process too. So I think that's what it was rooted in. Do you believe, we already said do men and women can be friends? Do you believe that there are maybe certain types of the opposite sex you shouldn't be friends with?
Yes. And I would say those would be those people who they generally aren't really safe people or mature people to be around in the long run anyway.
Hmm.
Friendship does come with a certain level of responsibility to another person, a certain level of mutualism that if you aren't, I mean, there's a certain level of respect that in a platonic friendship, certain things are going to change up. One of my longest male friendships, like pushing, what was it, almost 30 years or so, like there would be a certain way that we would interact if we were single. However, because of the perception, we do need to be on our P's and Q's when he got a new girlfriend, I got a new boyfriend, because we got to ease them into why do y'all act like y'all cousins? Because I mean, if you didn't assume that we were related, because that's how we acted, we just acted like cousins that grew up together. If you, as soon as you didn't know that we were related, it's like, oh no, both of y'all look good, so y'all must be. And it's like, nope, literally just my friend, and that's actually kind of gross. Like we literally grew up together. So I think that people who aren't good to be friends with, one, people that can't respect the boundaries,
Yeah.
people that they aren't able to, you guys can't communicate openly and honestly. Because if you aren't able to communicate well, the boundaries are just, they're going to be broken because someone isn't going to communicate it, and or somebody is going to overstep it, and they just going to keep pushing until. And if it's somebody that they is kind of just, well, dang, I can't even say that, because even some of the people who were horn dogs, that was the homie. They wasn't crap as a person. Well, as a man, I'm like, why do you keep doing these females like this? And it's like, cause they let me. And I'm like, bruh, seriously, why would you do this?
Yeah.
But you need to roll with people who are in the same level of respectability that you're in for the most part. Um, so yeah, that's I in the nutshell, I think that's the key to it.
Yeah. This is another good one. What is your take on if you had a friend and you was dating somebody, and I mean this was the love of your life. I mean, not how the last we know we dated people and be like they had the red flags, we ignored them. This is nothing but green flag, literally nothing but green flags. I don't like that friend. You need to cut them off. How would you respond to that?
It's a matter of a conversation. And the reason why I say that is because I need to know why all of a sudden, like, why do you want me to cut this person off? As a man, did you see something that I missed? Did you pick up on a vibe? Did you miss the glimmer in his eye? Or are you jealous because he got bread and Jessica spoiled just all the way around? All of my
Right.
friends be spoiling me because I mean that's the type of person I am. I spoil everybody around me. So I mean, if I ask for something, 9.9 times out of 10, the answer is yes. I pretty much always get what I want or what I ask for or stuff that I don't ask for. Are you upset that a friend is able to provide more for me than you are at the time? Did you, I mean, I can't see what's happening behind me. Did you see him looking me up and down when my back was turned? Are you about to let me know something for my own safety that I've never seen before?
Yeah.
Which even that, I would think that some of my other friends would have been like, "Hey girl, like if it came from completely from left field, I would to me it warrants a very deep conversation and a private conversation because I need the details of what's going on, whether I need to provide reassurance to my mate or whether I need to reevaluate my friendship because there were some blind spots that I didn't know I had."
Right. Okay. Okay. I think we got that down. I feel like there's one more thing I want to ask about this before we move to the final segment. So you say, for instance, we're going from the girl's point of view with this one. So you are dating somebody who was a hoe. Once upon a time, not long ago. They ain't a hoe no more. But they had a friend they used to kick it with. A good friend, but you find out they used to, you know, say the man is 38. They used to do this 15 years ago. They used to smash, but they still good friends now. How would you feel about that now?
Mm, my initial thought is like, nah. But as I get older, I still defer back to the what's the vibe? Because if you're talking about somebody that you was smashing as a teenager, I mean, mm, was you what does it look like now? How do y'all interact? Is it one person still interested and the other person they're very blasé and like platonic acting, normal acting about it, or is homegirl still doing too much? Are the boundaries there? Are the boundaries respected? I'm not gonna even shoot. I mean, as a blanket, yeah, it's supposed to be a cutoff time for phone calls, but I'm not gonna cap. I've been in a relationship before where there was a two female friends. One of them, that was my girl. She literally was a platonic female friend.
Right.
Okay, she called at 2 a.m. What's up, girl? I hand on the phone because her vibe was a certain way. Her behavior was a certain way. It wasn't no like, oh yeah, what up, bro? But then them eyes are saying something else. The body language is saying something else. But then there was the other homegirl. And I'm like, yeah, nah, you're gonna have to wrap that, you're gonna have to wrap it up. You're gonna
That's
have
crazy.
to snip that, cut it off. Well, what do you mean? You cool with such and such? What's wrong with this one? They doing the same. She calls the one you cool with call later than the one that you like, nah, the cutoff is 7 p.m. Like, what's up? And I'm like, it's the vibe. The same way that men can pick up on another man is trying to push up on their turf. It's the same with females. Certain females, they be doing too much, and we can spot it from
Yeah.
a mile away.
But then this is my final question with the challenge section because I really want the people going with this one. Do you have any jurisdiction? This is me to a woman or you to a man. Do you have any right or jurisdiction to tell somebody stop being friends with that person? Or do you say, or you feel, because my logic is if you've been friends with this person and I see some stuff you don't see, I'm gonna just say, you know what, I'm gonna bring it up. If you kind of like, nah, I'm gonna just be like, I'm gonna bow out because they've been there longer than me. And I'm gonna look like the crazy person, even if I'm right, because it's gonna come out later anyway. But I think I asked you, but I'm really answering. I think unfortunately we don't have that right because it's like they're gonna be like they was here first, so it's like who are you? You knew, so it's like you coming in stirring up problems. That's how it's gonna look. When in
Mhm.
reality, you actually are right.
I think it's about, I mean, people gonna do what they want to do. and somebody want it bad enough, they're gonna do what they need to do. I would just voice my feelings, voice my
Mhm.
really not even my opinion. I'm gonna say how I feel or how the person's actions made me feel or my reaction to the way that they acted. Do with it what you will.
All
That's
righty.
it. Cause you're gonna do what you want.
Right, you gonna do what you want for sure. All right, y'all. Let's move to the final segment for the day, which is the weekly sabbatical. And in this section, we just kind of go back on some things, reminisce on some things. So, in your last serious relationship, before we move on to my next one, so you can whichever one you want to talk about, because you're so hot and you had many. Um, what is the biggest lesson you learned from being in that relationship that obviously you're not, maybe in right now? Because what is the biggest lesson you learned from that relationship as far as when everybody can go, and also how it pertained to your friendships and your tribe?
Um, I would sum it up as if he wanted to, he would.
Okay.
People grow when they so choose. They make changes when they so choose, whether that be bad or good. People commit to growth and forward movement if and when they so choose. If you're really comfortable with where you are, and I'm not talking about just complacency, I'm talking about like you actually feel that you have reached self actualization or you've reached a certain pinnacle of achievement and you're satisfied with where you are, you will still be able to ebb and flow with the relationship, whether we're talking about a friendship, relationship, family ties, any of that. If you're satisfied within yourself, someone else's growth, level up, or drive won't affect the way that you feel about them and cause you to begin to treat that person with resentment, jealousy, or any other negative way. And if you do feel some of those feelings starting to come up because maybe you thought you were self actualized, but you're seeing someone else level up and you start to feel like, you know what? Maybe I want to go too. You have that open and honest conversation with the person so that you can find out how you can continue to go with them. Because when you start to become something that's detrimental to someone else's vision, those of you on audio, I'm pointing at the sign. Everybody can't go.
So, before I move on to some of my other points, I want to ask. I had a question. It was a good one too, and I think I forgot it. But it was something about, man, I forgot it. It was good too. I ain't even gonna worry about it. All right, I'm gonna just go to my next points. So from the article, The Focus on Family, the Billy Graham rule, can men and women be friends? Says when asking if men and women can be friends and if opposite sex friendships are okay, let's start by checking out Hebrews 10:24-25. It says, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, and as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more you see as the day approaching. So it says another form from Paul's first letter to Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another to build one another up, just as you are doing. It says that God wants us to have friends. He wants us to be in a relationship with one another. Our marriage needs community, and I believe that that can include opposite sex friendships. But those friendships should come with some pretty important stipulations. So it kind of aligns with everything you were saying. Like, every marriage is case by case, but I think that that's toxic to get in. I hate when people get in relationships and then they cut off all their friends. Some people don't
Mhm.
even just cut off the opposite sex; they cut off all of them. And I just never understood that. I never understood friends that did that, and they just cut off everybody. It's like, oh, I'm in a relationship, I don't have no friends no more. Because then what happens? Because then what I don't like is when y'all break up, and y'all will. Why you call them people back? Hey, where you at? What happened?
Mhm. It's because of an unhealthy attachment style. When, if and when you got to drop all of your friends because you got a person, and now all of a sudden can't nobody find you, and it's always because you with that man, you with that woman. There is an unhealthy amount of energy being put into one person. And dare I say that you are finding your self fulfillment and your happiness in that relationship and in that person instead of from the inside of you and radiating outward.
The main point from this article is that there can be friendships. There just has to be boundaries. Kind of what we've been saying the whole time. Like it's possible, but if you maybe do struggle with lust, it might not be best for you to have opposite sex friendship because you just, you can't control yourself but then at that point, that's something else you need to deal with. So I don't think that's something you should just like, this is how it is. You say, this is how it is to my skin tone. You say, this is how it is to the hair you were losing. But you don't say, unless you go to Turkey, but you don't just say this is how it is to a lust problem, especially if you married.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's something that's going to rear its ugly head if you don't take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to add before we go today?
I would just encourage everybody to look at the base of it, get some healthy communication with yourself and with those around you. And if you feel uncomfortable about any of your relationship dynamics, friendship dynamics, and you can't pinpoint what the problem is, if you're not able to self-help through listening to podcasts like this, podcasts like mine, doing any of the self-help stuff, please go see a licensed mental health professional so that you have actual wise counsel. So you ain't got to just sit there feeling crazy and making stupid decisions, because I guarantee you I might not talk about you to your face, but I'm gonna be looking at you. And if you come and ask me for some advice, I'll help you. But I'm gonna just be looking, thinking to myself, that was stupid. And it was a choice. So you get to choose. And if you do desire to have platonic friends of the opposite sex and you just haven't had it happen in life yet, I would say take a look at yourself first, and then also take a look at the company that you keep if you feel like that's impossible.
That's right. Because some people, like I mentioned earlier, they said that they just can't process or understand how people can be like, the guy was like, be friends with women, like how y'all just friends with them. I don't see how people do that, because they assume two of my friends was talking. I said, no, they're like best friends. Like, how do y'all do that? I just don't see how people do that. And it's clear he grew up in a toxic environment, so where you say you can't have friends of the opposite sex. It's like, don't get it twisted. That I don't think you should have 100 of them, but you know, you're gonna have some, especially, I don't know. I just look at it differently. I think this episode hopefully open people's eyes to see that and to understand that everything is possible. And again, even biblically, we got biblical proof to prove that it's okay as long as it's not becoming to the point where it's a little, extreme. Because again, everybody can't go. And honestly, even when you get married in a relationship, some of them friends can't go, but I don't believe it's not gonna just be the opposite sex. It's gonna be the same sex ones too. They can't go. Everybody just can't, and that's something people really have to internalize. Tell the people where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Everybody Can't Go Convos Pod. You can also find me on YouTube. Search Everybody Can't Go. Make sure you put convos in there. You can find the podcast on YouTube there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can also check me out on drivenconsistency.com for our 6-week coaching program. So yeah, those are the places you can find me. You can find me on TikTok at Everybody Can't Go LLC. I be trying to get like you and have my name the same everywhere, but it don't be working out for me, because now I guess everybody want to be Everybody Can't Go, and they can't.
Well, see, I had a uniquest PSA, the Mental Health Podcast, everywhere, but I can't use that. Well, it got banned on TikTok, and so that whole podcast page got banned, and then but I got my regular Izzy Baker up, and so. But I'm gonna tell you about that when I get off here. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank y'all for jumping on. See y'all next week. PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And remember, as always, I love us for real.